Let's get this thing going. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Off the Block, a Big Valley Auto Auction podcast. I am your host, Mr. Merenangel, sales manager here at Big Valley, loving what I do, doing what I love each and every day. And alongside me, one of my partners in crime, or not, our arbitrations manager, Richard Hearn.
Hey, how's it going? Yay!
Hey, Rich. First and foremost, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. I know you guys are busy, especially as we lead up into our sale day on Thursday. But so the crowd, everybody out there, the audience can get a feel of, who you are and where you've been. Can you give us a little background of how long you've been here and where you started and what you're doing now?
Well, I've been at Big Valley since 2009, summer of 2009.
Side note, we opened in 2008.
Yep. I started right before our first anniversary sale. I've done a little bit of everything from car wash, driver, transportation. I've done everything around here.
That's
been
right.
Doing arbitrations since 2010.
Wow. So how did you go from transportation and car wash and all that to arbitrations?
Well, Lisa came to me one day and said, "Hey, I think this will work for you. We're going to show you how to do this." And hey, we learned.
So you were just given,
I was like,
here's arbitrations.
it was,
Run with it.
"Hey, we need an arbitration manager." And Richard, we think you can do it because you know about cars. So,
Well, I'll tell you one thing though. I've been with a lot of people throughout the auction industry, and to me, like I've always said it, and I'll write it in stone. You are second to none when it comes to your knowledge of arbitrations and everything that we do. You're my go-to guy. When I have a question that I'm not sure about, that's why I think that's one of the biggest things. You're so valuable to this company because of your knowledge and the things that you know and the things that you've studied. And not to mention, you're a member of Auction Academy Class 7.
yes.
Right behind the best class, Class 6.
No. Class 7 is absolutely the best class. And I'm sure that my Class 7 classmates will agree.
Well, that's up for debate. So if anything, leave a message and you tell me what you think. Class 6, I better get on. Okay. Getting back to it. So can you elaborate a little bit on what is an arbitration?
So an arbitration starts when the buyer sees some kind of an issue with the car. Could be a lot of different things. Could be title, mechanical, structural. And basically we're just checking the car out for that issue and working on trying to keep this together. Make sure everybody gets the best deal possible, buyer and seller.
So when you come across a vehicle that's maybe misrepresented, on the block, whether it's a green light, yellow light, red light, which we are NAAA affiliated,
Yes,
so
we
we
are.
have to abide by the rules and standards. What is the first step into once an inspector or a mechanic finds an issue with the vehicle? What do they do to you, or how do you get involved into that process?
So at the point that a vehicle fails our inspection, I will look over what we found, look at it and say, hey, this car fails. Generally, what I'll do is I'll hand it over to Meta and Omar. Let them work it, but, somebody's got to make them work sometimes.
Well, not only that, but if you want to try to save a sale, who's the best guy to do it? The sales guys. Duh.
I don't know. No.
So getting back to the arbitration, I know there's different rules for depending if you buy in lane and online. What is a little brief difference in between those two?
So if you buy a car online, AAA gives you, in certain instances, gives you a couple extra days to get a car looked at. We know that it takes some time to get a car transported, especially, going way up north. We got some buyers from
Throughout the whole nation.
We got buyers everywhere. So AAA will give you up to 10 days to receive the car, but you only have 2 days from when you actually receive the car.
Okay, so note that, guys. If you're an online buyer and you want to buy, remember what he just said. I know that you probably have one of the hardest parts of the auction world industry, wherein you have to make those calls and call the seller and be like, hey man, your car didn't pass because you have structural or it has a bad motor or transmission slipping, how hard is it to tell somebody, yo, baby, ugly?
Oh, it's it can be hard sometimes. A lot of people look at these cars and say, "Oh, we don't see a problem with it." So there's a lot of getting in it, going and driving a car with somebody, and verifying. Sometimes, sometimes things aren't always as great as they were when they were at the lot.
No, yeah, definitely. That's a biggie. And I think that's one of the biggest things that the misconception is saying, hey, where I'm from a dealership, that car was right there and it was perfect. But yeah, after further review, flag on the play, after further review, we've come to a conclusion that there's an issue with this vehicle.
And I will say there are a lot of times where we get some cars. One this morning that customer test drove it, said it was great, had no issues with it. We test drove it with them, and it had problems today. I don't know if I don't know what happened, but sometimes they break overnight.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part. I'm sure you have a million stories, but is there a story in your mind that sticks out? Do not say any names or affiliations or anything like that, but that you're like, man, this one was a very heated, irate customer case, one of the hardest ones that I've ever had to deal with.
I'll say he is no longer a customer, but not for anything we did. He's actually a very good friend now. But think back to a '06 F-150, probably 10 or 11 years ago,
Wow.
that I got in this truck and I drove it, and this truck ran perfect for a little while, and then all of a sudden, as a lot of y'all will know, 5.4 Ford motors, they've got some problems. All of a sudden, it starts knocking and missing, and it's just not a good truck. And actually, Lisa happened to hear it, and I had to make that phone call the next day. Well, I couldn't show it to him. I could not get this truck to do it again.
Man, that must be difficult, right?
That one was rough. Uh, Luckily, we were able to prove it eventually, but it took some time. Turned out it had to sit and run for 30 minutes or so before it ever had an issue.
And I'm sure you've had to, be the bigger man in a lot of conversations and maintain your coolness and your calm demeanor about it. But how hard is that?
Oh, it can be hard. I'm sure a lot of people know me and know that it's hard to make me real angry, but it happens every now and then. I've kept my cool, but it's hard.
Yeah, I bet. Getting into where the industry is at now, we have a chip shortage and inventory, fluctuates, up and down. We have a lot of, we have a little. Getting into electric vehicles, EVs. I know we come across maybe one or two every few and far in between, but could you drive an EV?
Could I drive one? Yes.
No,
Oh,
would you want
I?
to? Let me rephrase that.
Would I
Would
want
you
to?
want to drive an EV?
All right, so I drive more than the average person, so I do have a problem with them in that case, but I think they're pretty cool. I was actually just talking to Michael. He's back here right now. I was talking to him about his a little while ago. I like them. They're cool cars. I don't want to work on them right now. I don't. We've got a lot to learn. I think the whole industry does when it comes to dealing with them, just in general.
So with working on those, technology and all that, and we have to be ready to adapt to those vehicles. Currently, for regular combustible vehicles that we run on a weekly basis and inspect on a weekly basis, what is your go-to equipment, tool, whatever you want to call it, that has saved your butt more than once?
Well, so one of our policies is we scan every car. We've got some nice Matco scanners, and we hook them up on every car that we run.
That was a
through our
free
inspection
shameless
process.
plug for Matco, by the
It
way.
was, right? We've got some real nice Matco scanners that we use, and they've saved us on a lot of stuff. We get some codes that are hidden. The auto dealers sometimes they try to hide some things, but we tend to find them. So
Man, that's awesome. I can only imagine how difficult it would be if you didn't have, specifically that scanner in your hand, try to pinpoint an issue or stuff like that. Thank God for technology. While sometimes it might drive us nuts, I'm so glad we're technologically advanced more than we were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Richard, what is one of the hardest things? What is one of the hardest things about your job?
I'd say one of the hardest things about my job is calling somebody and making that your baby's ugly phone call. Over the years, a lot of our customers have become good friends, so it's kind of hard to make those phone calls. Call somebody and say, "Hey, bro, I'm sorry. I know we had some beers last night, but you got some problems with your car, and I can't pass it.
Yeah.
And this buyer doesn't want it because, that."
Well, I hope you paid for the beers that night, and because if you're telling him that, I'm sure he or she's gonna be upset. What is what is your most favorite thing about working here at Big Valley Auto Auction?
Big Valley Auto Auction. There's actually nothing that I don't like about it, even if you and I fight every now and then. Never. The culture at Big Valley is amazing. If it was not for the culture of this place and Lisa and Bernard's vision for this place, I wouldn't have ever been here as long as I have.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Here at Big Valley, we're driving, we're driving for excellence, and we're culture enriched in all of our employees to make sure that they know our vision and they see what we see in the future and bring them along because it's going to be a very good ride. As we close out this episode, Rich, is there something do you have any words you live by? Me, I'm a golden rule kind of guy. Like I've said before, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. Is there something that you kind of go by? I know you're a racer by trade. You love racing. You love fast cars. You love going fast. Is there something like some kind of a saying that always sticks out in your head?
Well, honestly, the golden rule is one of my big things, but I don't really have another saying. I mean,
I really thought you were going to drop the Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you last.
Well, that's true. But as far as the way I live my life, it is the golden rule. Now, if you ain't first, you last. That's true. I definitely live by that one when I'm at work or not at work, playing with race cars. We've got a few race cars.
Man, well, it's been a pleasure here talking to you, Rich. I know we interact a lot, especially when we're trying to push the culture of Big Valley to all of our employees and every other department that we work in. But I just want you to know that we appreciate everything that you do. You work hard. You're probably want to have one of the sweetest demeanors, but doesn't mean you can get riled up because I know you can. But nonetheless, we appreciate everything that you do. And is there any final words you want to leave for everybody out there?
I mean, if anybody's ever got any arbitration questions, feel free to give me a call. Everybody's got the number to the auction, 956-461-9000. I'm always willing to help.
Not only that, you can also go to bigvalleyaa.com and you can check out our meet our family, and our numbers are there if you ever need anything. We run every Thursday. Sale starts at 9:30, 5 to 600 cars. You can log in, watch the sale via simulcast. Come in here. If you're from out of town and want to fly in, let us know. We'll take care of you. Preview days on Wednesday from 9 o'clock to 6 p.m. You can look us up. You can look up our inventory at bigvalleyA.com or edgepipeline.com. We'll be shooting another episode, guys, and we're going to try to do a little twist here, see if we can get a buyer's perspective on what they look for at either the wholesale level, they're buying retail, or they're buying directly from the dealership. Stay tuned for that. Don't forget, at Big Valley, we're driving excellence because when you're here, you are family. Thank you, Richard.